For today's follow along, I'm going to do straddle flexibility, working straddle pancake work all the way through to straddle L-sit holds. I'm going to show variations for all levels, and I'm going to combine that with planche push-ups. I'm going to do some elevated stuff on the box to make it easier in some ways. And again, I'm going to show progressions for all different levels. So if you're going to follow along, just make sure that your wrists and shoulders are all warmed up. So make sure that you've done some wrist prep. So lots of different directions with your hands. Make sure you're comfortable over the front. Make sure that you're warmed up in the scapula, so I can go between retraction and protraction and go between the two. And I just do some light push-up work. So just some standard push-ups. Okay, and then let's jump in and start to warm up the straddle position. So I'm going to sit down on some mats on the floor. If you're tighter, you need more mats just to get the hip so it feels like it can turn over. I'm going to use a 10K weight plate now. Now you could use a dumbbell or a kettlebell or something that's got a little bit of weight to it. If you don't have a weight, you can do it without, but it's just a little bit better and it can pull you into the stretch. So I'm going to make this quite simple to start with and easy, just a good way to warm up the hips. So I'm going to lean the plate away from me and do some rotation left and right. So side to side, back and forth. If you are a little bit more open now, I'd come off the mat onto the floor. You just want to feel that you can lean forwards into this position. If you can't, stay up on the mat. If you're super tight, stay up on a mat and have a slight bend in the knees. Then I'm going to jump up on the box and just do some push-ups. Now the push-ups are a little bit different. They're like pike push-ups, but they're in a tuck position. And I'm taking the head down below the hands, like the collarbone going towards the edge of the box. Then into your normal shoulder stand position. So just try and find a point where you can just hover the knees lightly off the box. You can do this on the floor, but it's a bit harder. I'd make sure you just raise the hands up a little bit higher, maybe on some yoga blocks. Shoulder stand can go all the way up to a straight body position if you're more comfortable. You can do this between two chairs or something. Then back to the straddle position. This time I'm going to push the plate away from me. If the plate feels a little bit too heavy to do this, then just use a block or a mat or your phone or something just to push away. And slowly, obviously, getting deeper and deeper as you do this, with the end goal being to lengthen in the spine as much as you can. So pushing the block or the plate as far away from you as possible. Hold for like 15 or 20 seconds. And then I'm just going to warm up a bent arm position. So now this could be like a straddle bent arm planche. It could be more of like a peacock position when I'm bringing the elbows in and actually resting on the elbows. I could have my body tucked, or I could extend the legs out behind me. If I find that really hard, I could drop my feet off the other side of the box, have my hands up on the box, and then lean back and forth, trying to get as much weight into the hands. And again, you could take that up towards a straddle bent arm planche position, or that peacock resting on the elbows, like double arm elbow lever. Couple of options here, back into the pancake. So I'm going to make it a little bit harder by getting the plate to pull me forwards. So I could do the one again and just raise the hips up if I'm tighter and just have the plate in front of me. Or if I've got a little bit more strength and I'm a bit more conditioned there, I'm going to stick the plate up on my back. I'm resting on my elbows on the floor. You could rest with your hands on the floor. And then I'm going to control the descent, so how deep I go into it, by the elbows. So I slowly walk the elbows out. And if I'm comfortable, I go deeper and deeper, just moving the plate back towards the low back so the chest comes down towards the floor. Now, obviously, if you've got the flexibility, you could just rest there laying on the floor and just any curve that's in the body. So if I've got a little bit of a hump in my mid-back, that's where I'm putting the plate. Some people have a little bit of a hump in their low back. That could be tight hamstrings though. So if you find you need to, just stretch out the hamstrings or the calves or anything else that might open up, like a pigeon position maybe for the hips. Okay, then we'll have a go at combining the movement. So I'm going to go into a tuck planche position up on the box, and I'm going to lower down to the bent arm position that I had before. Again, I could extend the legs out, or I could just stay in a tuck position. I could bring the elbows in and rest on them more, or I could have the elbows just brush in the side, or the upper arm brush in the side of the torso. Then back into the pancake again. This time I'm going to be a bit more dynamic. I'm going to hold onto the plate, put it up on my back. You want to rest the plate so it's on your head and your upper back, not so it's just on your head and neck. And then as I go down, I'm trying to open the chest up as much as I can, just trying to keep that back flat. aiming to get chest towards the floor and trying to reach away as far as I can with the elbows. Okay, then I'm going to go into a harder planche variation. So where I feel like it's maxing me out in terms of an eccentric. So planche position and eccentric lower down to the bent arm position. Again, this is going to be different for everyone. You could do something like a crow position, have the knees on the outside if it's tricky, and slide down the arms into your peacock position, or any combination in between where you're a bit more planchy or getting assistance from the elbows. Back into straddle. This time I'm going to do eccentric, no-handed straddle down. I'm not sure what you call this. It's like the opposite to the straddle up, but I'm just doing the eccentric, so slowly lowering, kissing the floor. Now obviously there's a demand here, there's a prerequisite. You need to have a certain amount of flexibility and control to do this with control. You could use your hands on the way down. If you're tighter, you can use some mats, put the hands between the legs, reach down to the mats, and then lower the butt down towards the floor. If I'm much tighter, I could be on a higher box. Okay, then back to the actual planche push-up again. So I'm going to pick a harder variation to start in at the top, and then I'm going to lower down to an even harder position at the bottom in terms of the body position. So I might be open and out, or I can make that easier and stay in that crow position and lower down to like a peacock position. But I'm also going to try and push back up if I can. You might not be able to push back up. You could use band assist around the hips, or you could just go for planche lean push-ups. So this is where I go into a normal push-up position. I lean as far forwards as I can. Make sure you do turn the hands out because it can be pretty tough on the wrists. And then I'm going to lower down to that planche push-up, so chest touch the floor, and then come back up again. Still trying to planche out the shoulders as far as I can forwards as I go up and down, trying to get into that full protraction at the top. Then I'm going to attempt a straddle L-sit. So I might need to do this on the box. So the corner of the box would be the easiest way with the knees slightly bent. Then we can work around to the edge of the box, again having the knees up high, and then try and slowly straighten the legs depending on what level you're at. And then with the hardest variation being to push up from the floor into your straddle L. And then last of all, I'm going to combine both of the elements, so the straddle mobility and the bent arm, straight arm planche movements. So I'm going to go from a straddle L-sit through to a straddle planche, lower down and go back up to a tuck planche. You could just do a straddle L-sit on the box, go through to a shoulder stand position, both with bent arms or straight arms. And just play with those transitions from the straddle L-sit through to the shoulder stand. So loads of different variations there to play with. So I'm going to finish the video there for today. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions on that one. There's a lot of variation and levels you can do in terms of the planche, the bent arm planche, and the straddle position. So investigate and explore which combinations that you can do that fit your body type. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.